Hello.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. We are really glad to have you on this session, Marketing from Scratch. It's actually the first time we are hosting this, and I couldn't be more grateful to have Vaishali Gupta, co-founder of mCaffeine, as our first guest. She is someone who has created not one but two disruptive beauty brands from India for India. And I have always found that one of the things founders don't do well, some of the founders don't do well from the beginning because they don't have a grounding in marketing, is to really think about their brand. And it is not about whether it's a female brand like beauty or consumer brand or even a B2B brand, but brand is a very important part because it ultimately is the communication of your values, of your product, of your purpose. So I want us to learn from from Vaishali's journey. And well, before, of course, she's famous now and her brand is very famous. But well before that, I think, like many of you, perhaps as a consumer, I picked up her product and I said, this is, a product that's products that are interesting, and that already is part of the brand journey, right? So and but what is so intriguing for me is I came from a engineering background and I had to learn marketing from great people that were in my team over decades. And I was interested, Vaishali, that you didn't have a formal marketing background before you jumped into this, but obviously you have figured out the answers so well. So welcome, Vaishali, to this debut marketing from scratch event. And I truly appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
Thank you so much, Vani, for having me on this amazing series you have started. And it's so insightful for people like me and the larger ecosystem in the D2C community, in the consumer product space community to, learn from these sessions. And it's a really great initiative. So, and I'll be learning with you on this call. And I'm super excited for this chat.
So, Vaishali, first things first, right? Why do we start a company? Origin of all problems, right? So, but, it's not like on the surface, anyone says, oh, I don't have the beauty products I need. If you just did a random survey, if you had asked me, I'd say, yeah, I mean, I'm fine. I have products, I use them, and I don't feel like I'm missing something, right? So, from where did you create this view and hence vision passion that there is actually a market opportunity, right? And secondly, why did you get interested in beauty product as a business personally, right? So love to understand market opportunity and where your passion came from.
Got it. So I think I'll be now I can give you two perspectives. One, when we started, right out of college, building this, and after a while, when we had much more learnings of the building, how we started Hyphen. So I think people will have two views to how we thought about the market opportunity. When we started mCaffeine back in 2016, we were trying to understand the consumer space market, the beauty market, and we faced an accident. Our my co-founder Tarun had a swollen eye, and in
Hmm.
being India, we get a lot of free advices. And in that advice, one advice was that okay, keep a tea bag because of the
Hmm.
swollen eye. You need to keep a tea bag; it will be gone. And then actually it worked. And when we researched, it happened because it had caffeine, and caffeine is known to reduce your inflammation and puffiness of the eye. That is where
Hmm.
we started researching about this ingredient caffeine, and we realized it is one of the oldest ingredient in dermatological space, which is actually used in skin and hair products to make the products better. In skin, it helps you as a very great antioxidant and anti-inflammatory substance, and at the same time for hair it's actually great for your hair fall because it penetrates into the follicles and works magic. And we realize nobody is actually working on this particular ingredient working on this particular ingredient in India. That time we thought, okay, it would be interesting to get this particular product to India, this ingredient to India. But in the next 2 years, while we were trying to understand the market, we realized that caffeine for India is manifested as coffee, tea, and chocolate. So that is where the birth of coffee, tea, and chocolate products for mCaffeine started. Now that was how we thought about back then when we were starting to know how a beauty space and understand how do we launch a brand. While learning in this, while we were learning in this entire journey, we stumbled upon a lot of consumer needs and gaps which the current brand of mCaffeine cannot solve. As like, brand is an emotion, and it's a delivery of a promise, and that promise has certain aspects of product and certain aspects of proposition which we could service through mCaffeine. Then we realized that there are so many consumer demand gaps which mCaffeine is not able to solve. Okay, so now we need probably another brand, and that is where Hyphen came into picture. We had by then talked to about like 1,000 plus consumers to understand their demand gaps. We understood that okay, there are so many options available in the skincare space. There's a niacinamide serum, there's a vitamin C serum, there's an XYZ face wash, there's an XYZ sunscreen, and it is so overwhelming for some people to understand what works for their skin. So people are asking that okay, give us one product which solves multiple benefits for the skin. And
Yeah.
we can't understand nature hai, science hai, kya dalein apne product mein. So that is where we thought, okay, a brand which hyphens natural and active ingredients, it actually hyphens a lot of beauty needs of a consumers and solves it in one bottle. Can that happen? And from that demand gap, Hyphen actually was born. So I think back then it was an accident which led to the research. And after that, it was a lot of consumer demand gap. And I think at the back of it was our hunger to solve something for the beauty space. So as engineers, you mentioned, right, we have this all-time need to keep on solving.
Problem solving. Yeah.
Exactly. So that I think was the back of all of these things where we wanted to do something, disrupt the market, and the opportunities which were in front of us is where we grabbed all of those.
Actually, I didn't realize that cocoa also has caffeine. I realize, of course, coffee and tea does, but I didn't realize that cocoa also has caffeine. I realized that today. So, wow. I know it has fat, or depending on what you add to it, but
It has
so
45% of caffeine if you use the right dark chocolate for yourself. So it's as high as
ah,
that. Yeah.
okay. That's something new. But one question, Vaishali, did you have worry whether you could cut through the clutter? In your mind, there is a gap. People don't have this by a happy accident. There is actually really a lot of value in certain core ingredients which are not showing up in beauty products today. But did you worry at all about how do you communicate that and cut above the clutter?
Absolutely. I think, see, being differentiated in such a cluttered space is the only way to survive and grow in this entire, plethora of beauty products and brands. What we follow as a rule is that differentiation doesn't come from one factor, but all the six P's which we have to bring in together to solve a concern. So to actually solve a problem, I would say, we're starting from product to product proposition, packaging, pricing, promotion, and platform. I think how you deliver these six P's to the consumer is what creates that key differentiation. And at the same time, staying relevant to the promise you had on the day one. So, giving you like an example for this, when it comes to Hyphen, We wanted to have nature and science clubbed together with multiple ingredients solving for one concern. Now that is the core message of the brand which we had. Now when we actually launched the product, like I'll take an example, which is an all I need sunscreen. All I need sunscreen is a sunscreen which has moisturization, it has SPF, best PA factors, it has vitamin C which will brighten your skin. So all of the things which consumers are wanting for specifically a sunscreen to do, we put that in one particular product. Now with that, what is the pricing and what is the packaging which is best for the consumer? So clubbing that quality with affordability, and now marketing it with the right set of fundamental communication. So if I don't tell this piece to the consumers that I have so many things in my product and you're getting all of this at an affordable price, I don't do justice to that, promise and that differentiation I'm building. So I think communication stands the key to delivering that differentiation and that promise to the consumers. Otherwise we won't be able to tell what we are doing. And then the clutter, then actually you need marketing dollars to break through the
Yeah.
clutter. That's
So we'll
not
talk
the
about the dollars in a minute. But Vaishali, do you think there is like a playbook that is simple, that like a compass that anybody who wants to think about building a brand, let's for the moment say D2C brand, can
Hmm.
use, or is this truly a discovery journey and some randomly get it right and some don't? So because we have a lot of founders and that's who we are sharing this information with, and how should they think about building that brand as a playbook?
Got it. Very, very nice question. So I think I'll pick it up in two parts. One is how do we actually understand that demand gap, which helps us stumble upon a particular opportunity in the market. And the second is how do we actually initiate the brand. So first, when we talk about the demand gap in the space, I think we follow three factors. One is, first of all, is data. Second is customers, and third is our R&D. When it comes to data, there are a lot of tools like Helium, which has a lot of data on Amazon, your Google ecosystem, and a lot of external tools which helps us understand what are the searches, what are the trends which consumers are actually asking for in the market. So, for example, if I am on Amazon today or if I'm on Google today, I can understand, okay, fragrances or sunscreens are growing at 70% year on year, and the consumers are asking for a particular fragrance note or a particular price point in this fragrance. So, that's the data arm which helps me understand, okay, these are the broad aspects which consumers are trying to look for. Second is I have a subsets. Now that can be a smaller subset of 100, 200 people, which where we can then connect and understand, okay, is this a relevant ask of the consumer? Say, for example, I need a sunscreen and consumers need 10 things in the sunscreen. Is that a relevant ask by the consumers, or are there more factors which I can incorporate? And the third part is there are so many global beauty forums at this point of time, which one should study and understand, both in India and actually abroad, which gives you these trends of what is happening in probably cross borders or what are the emerging trends. So, for example, Korean skincare got into Indian beauty 2 to 3 years back, but if you would have read some global forums, you would have understood that probably an year before. So, for example, a dewy skin trends are emerging in globally, and it's like a rage at this point of time. Last 6 months, if you map those trends in India, a lot of brands are actually launching a lot of products with dewy skin. So you can actually go and understand those global forums and then work on the consumer insights, the data insights, and the research insights, club them to understand if there's a demand gap or not. So that actually helps you understand the opportunity if if that is available in the market. Now coming on to how do you actually build the brand? I think one of the things while we have learned in the process of building is staying true to the promise of the brand. If I am saying that okay, mCaffeine is an experiential brand which will deliver performance, but at the same time deliver the best of the experience. It will make you addicted to the fragrance and the performance of the product. I need to stay true to that message which I deliver. If I'm saying that, okay, I'll be building the first caffeinated brand of India and I'll be delivering that particular product with coffee, tea, and chocolate, I need to be true to that particular message. Now, that is what I feel is a little bit more creative process. You need to go through a little bit detail in terms of understanding how you want your brand to deliver that message, and then I think that goes into translating into the product and development of that product and distribution of the product, which I talked about 6 P's. So I think that's the flow of anybody of launching a brand and actually entering into this plethora of beauty brands which we have in this market.
So let's talk about money, right? You had mentioned that earlier. So we all have this notion sometimes, a myth, to some degree, that without capital you can't build a brand. Of course, capital is necessary for everything, but because you also see sometimes startup spending the kind of significant money that it's hard to know how that correlates to real performance marketing or real value creation for the company. And so, talk about two things: brand, performance marketing. They are both have a connection, but sometimes those are thought to be two islands, right? So, that's one. Also, from how should one think about the capital to invest into brand building, right? So if you are a large company, uh, it's one thing. You could have a 2000 crore budget, sponsor IPL, whatever, whatever. If you're a young company and you do that just because you were able to raise growth capital, that may or may not work. So how do we think about this?
Got it. Again, a very, very good question. Uh, and we've learned it the hard way. Uh, so, what we feel is you can, the consumer product business is a 70-75% gross margin business. That kind of a gross margin business doesn't need thousands of crores to be invested in the brand and build the brand. Ideally, the best state of the business would be when the consumers start funding the brand, and I think that's the best way to scale it up. We had raised capital, we had burned our capital to actually scale up, and I think it's not the healthy way to build it. Giving for a 70% gross margin business, giving 170% for performance marketing will never make sense. You cannot have an acquisition engine scaling up with a CAC, which is a customer acquisition cost, standing at 1500, 2000. That is not sustainable. You can do it at one level to a certain level, but post that it won't be sustainable. You're practically doing something massively
Vaishali, I'm
wrong.
not sure if this is just me. I lost you there for a bit. I don't know if
Okay.
that's the same for others or not. Guys, if you're not able to hear, just post on the comments. We'll figure out. I can hear you now. I don't know if you can hear me.
Okay. Okay. Am I audible now properly?
Now you're audible to me, but I didn't hear you for a minute there. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So, so I was telling that 70%, if we have a 70% gross margin business, we don't need crores in the bank to actually fund our performance marketing. Ideally, the best state would be if consumers fund the brand, if consumers fund the brand. And I think best there's a waterfall which we have like come to and to actually build the way a good brand should be built. So first is like consumer. So understand what consumers want, build for the consumer, so the category becomes very, very important. Third is figure out the right channel for that particular category or the product, and the fourth is cash. If you work on this waterfall in this particular flow, you would not need cash for your business. You might need cash to actually build that infrastructure. So you can raise some bit of seed capital, but you don't need massive amount of crores to actually hit the bank and build your brand. Some bit of seed capital might be needed to build that infrastructure, have initial working capital, have team, have that resources for you to work on building a brand. But after a point of time, if you're listening to your consumers, if you're building the right category and you're selling it on the right channel, cash will come. And burning that cash is not the way to performance marketing. And then I'll come to the brand and performance marketing in a bit. But I think first fundamental principle of business should be building it sustainably healthy. So if we are launching, like at this state, both the brands are sustainable brands. They are growing at a very healthy rate without us infusing any capital. The only capital is going is in the working capital. And the another set of brands which we would launch, we would not need an extra capital. They will be self funded. So I think, and we have been in the stage in 2023 and 2024, 2022 and 2023, where we were burning heavily, and we realized that our business has grown stronger when we have a better unit economics, we have better discipline at handling that unit economics. And now we don't need capital to actually build businesses or grow businesses, only because of this 4C architecture, which is consumer, category, channel, and cash. If you think in this way, it'll work. If you're thinking bottom up, which is cash, channel, category, consumer, then you would definitely need a lot of cash.
Yeah.
And
So Vaishali, there are several questions on influencer marketing from several people. So I won't call out each one, but I'll try to take all those questions and summarize the question for you for collective benefit. Influencer marketing, at what stage of the company should you engage in influencer marketing, right? And how should you think about how much of your marketing budget to allocate to influencers? And then how do you know who the right influencer potentially could be? How do you choose the right influencers? So maybe you can just give us a your thought process and how you leverage this channel of marketing.
got it, got it. I think before your brand and the product has found its product market fit, I think it would be too early for any brand to actually think about influencer marketing. So there can be benchmarks varying from product to category to actually the product type. So, for example, if you're launching a brand which caters to face care category, if you're not able to sell 20,000 units in first 45, 60, or 90 days, then probably understanding if there's a product market fit, if the early adopters, like the first set of consumers who would buy from you, are justifying the brand and justifying the product, they're accepting the product. Before that, we would not suggest that influencer marketing budget should be allocated. To reach that level, I think performance marketing can help, building the right content, building the right funnel, starting from content to conversion funnel. I think if you can crack that, you can reach to a stage when the business finds its product market fit. Once the product market fit is found, in an ideal state, you would have your hero products by then. You would know, okay, if you have 5 products, you would have two, one, three. Well, ideal state would be 2 products which are like going very well for you. And that, I think, would be the right time for people to invest in influencer marketing. Now, I think ideally we look at the budget cumulatively, performance and influencer marketing together. So it can start from something at a 45% to at a larger scale business reaching to 100 crores, probably at 35%. But if it's, say, for example, we take for somebody who is at a 50 lakh scale or a 1 CR scale at this point of time, an ideal budget of 40-45% on performance marketing plus influencer marketing is the ideal state. For influencer marketing specifically, I think rather than allocating lakhs and crores, going specific and little bit more focused in influencer marketing can help a brand understand, okay, if it's working well for them or not. Now, how do we actually understand which influencers to pick, how to pick, what budget to allocate? So we follow a simple matrix system to understand for the influencer. So picking the right product, once you have the product market fit and the hero product, I think focusing on that particular product is important. You would need key opinion leaders. I think the biggest need for the brands is they cannot be the only ones saying their story and validating the product. Consumers need to hear from the key opinion leaders, aka influencers, for them to understand if this particular product is relevant for them or not. So uh, with that need, I think figuring out the right TG, if you are, say, for example, a regional brand, a regional influencer can work. If you are a Gen Z or a millennial brand, influencers that cater to that particular target group can work. In the initial stage of the brand, if you feel that the particular influencer is talking about the content which resonates to your brand, that can be a parameter for you. So these are the subjective parameters which can help you define the influencers you would want to have. And at the same time, I feel that we need to measure marketing. The biggest problem with influencer marketing is we don't measure. So if we have to pick an influencer, figuring out some of the quantitative object parameters becomes very important, which would means the CPV of the influencer and the engagement. So if you're paying 100 rupees, what are the kind of views you can actually expect from the influencer and the kind of engagement you can have? So quantitative and qualitative aspects is what can actually lead you to get the right influencer. Now with that influencer being chosen, I think it's very important, and we learned it over a period of time. A lot of times brands tell influencers what to do, what to say, and I think that's
Mm.
the biggest mistake in influencer marketing,
Because
because
then it's
you
not authentic to that influencer anymore.
absolutely rightly said. And I think people want to know, people want to know from their words, from their lens, what the brand and the product is about. If we put our lens to it, then the authenticity goes. So I think uh, picking the right influencer, firstly, focusing on the influencer type, TG, picking that set of influencers, focusing on the CPV and the engagement of the influencers, and building that authentic content with the influencer. I think these are the parameters to start with influencer marketing.
Mm.
And so if there has to be quantification of budget, I would say ideally you can start with 2 to 3% of your budget and then gradually scale. But it should always be combined with performance marketing budget, rather than thinking that it's an extra budget which you should have. So I think it definitely gives you that discipline of unit economics if you put it up together and understand, and then definitely measure the output for that.
So, Vaishali, let's talk about influencer versus celebrity. There's a question from audience on that also. And, you see some brands use celebrities well, but most brands may not get their value for money with it. At least this is a very personal opinion of mine. I maybe have my own biases about this. And, just for the benefit of the audience, uh, if you want a A-lister, let's say Dhoni or Alia Bhatt or someone like that, you may pay a little over 10 lakhs to do one tweet, or somewhere between 5 to 15 crores, depending on what you're asking them to do for you. And even if it's just an appearance, it could be like 50 lakhs plus. This is just the fee, right? And then there is the overall production cost and value creation, right? So when to use a celebrity, right? And also, most people enter into it without thinking about the overall cost. It's kind of like you can maybe save and buy a car, but if you have to run it every day, there's a certain maintenance cost to it
Yeah.
that if you don't have the money for, what is the car going to do, right? So in the same way, you can pay a celebrity, right? So and if you actually don't invest almost 3 to 5x more, actually even
Yeah.
more, right, in not just production but in marketing,
Television.
it's of no use. And so they don't think through the budget fully, right? So it's not just the cost of the celebrity, which itself is very high. So celebrity marketing, when to use it, how to think about that again from cost budget, especially for a early company. If you are, Tata Motors, and you pick up Messi to represent that, we're not talking about that, right? So we are talking about a young company that is venture funded.
Yeah, got it. I think um, one thing which we've learned and realized is that the consumer today, they don't want information. They want to actually be, engaged. They want us to talk to them rather than giving them a piece of information. And there's a like difference in giving information and talking. So, and uh, we did both, and we realized that when you have a conversation line with a consumer, with audience, it is much more impactful because they feel it's that we are building for them that personal touch, that personalized way of communicating that impacts the consumers more versus when we are giving them an information. Now now what is this information I'm talking about? uh Sorry. If we talk about, so we've done the campaign with Alia, A-lister, biggest celebrity of the time. And we, as you mentioned, we had put in crores for the production. We had put in even more money for actually putting it up on traditional media, on YouTube media. What it does, it definitely creates a recall. People do remember, okay, Alia Bhatt uses this particular product. But what it misses is it doesn't engage the consumer. It doesn't create an impact or leave a message with the consumers. Okay, why is this particular brand more important for me? Why I need to use an X product versus a Y product? And that is where the format of talking and engaging with the consumers actually benefit more. So if I am telling story to the consumer that, okay, why I launched mCaffeine and what it went behind launching a new perfume lotion, people want to hear that because that has a personal touch, that has an emotional connect, and that is what people feel is more relatable. When probably an A-lister goes and talks about the particular product, that this particular product has 10 things and, like, you should buy it, it just goes as a form of communication to them. It goes as a form of information to them, which I feel today's millennial audience, they don't relate. Social media has at least done this change in a consumer's lifestyle, that they have made things a little bit more relatable, and they love relatable things. So, if you ask me today, I would say build authentic content. If you can build an authentic content with a celebrity, and that celebrity can tell the message in the most authentic way, that will work rather than building an ad and putting it up on traditional media. And matlab,
So can you
build
take a, sorry, go ahead. So can you
I,
take a campaign or an example that might not have worked as well as you hoped for, and
perfect, yeah,
why?
yeah.
What is the lessons in hindsight?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think so. We did Alia campaign with Alia, and it was a great campaign. We did lots and lots of stuff in that. We had experience in that particular campaign. It was telling the message of the brand and the product to the consumers. But what we realized was it wasn't connecting to the consumers. It was not relatable to the consumers. People, what we realized in our consumer feedback was people were asking us, okay, Alia uses 10 products, and she would probably use a coffee body scrub, but that does that actually work? Versus if there's a key opinion leader, an influencer, or my team creating content and telling them that, okay, this particular product was made after 6 months of research and it does 10 things for the consumers. It helps them understand, okay, why I need this particular product. So I think the biggest learning was relatability was missing when there was a very big star talking about that particular product in a very, very crafted manner versus a smaller person, like, like a relatively more relatable person telling the story of the product and the experience of the product in the most raw and authentic way. So I think that, I think, is the biggest difference. And at the same time, Vani, a very interesting thing now which we talk about is Hyphen is co-founded by Kriti Sanon with us. She is
Hmm.
actually the chief customer officer in Hyphen. People
Hmm.
believe in the brand and in Kriti
Hmm.
because she goes out bare skin and talks about the fact that, okay, I love my sunscreen and I love the Golden Hour Glow serum, and okay, you can use it, because that is what people love. People love that authentic self of the celebrity going out and telling. So I think the format of marketing, the format of content, and how unfiltered it goes in front of the audiences is what makes or breaks the entire my entire uh, campaign or the content, I would say. And to be very honest, if somebody needs a celebrity, hello, okay, am I audible? I'm so sorry, I think I got stuck. Okay. So, in case if anybody feels that there's a celebrity who they want and embodies the brand, I think the best thing they should do is understand from the consumers. If consumers feel connected to that particular public figure, and they would want that particular person to give them the message. If it doesn't come from the consumer, I feel it might not be relatable. So relatability becomes the first touch point or the matrix to understand if you need a celebrity. And at the same time, if you can become the celebrity of your brand, I think that's the biggest win.
Yeah.
So now these days you see so many founders actually going out and telling about the product.
Absolutely, and it's more authentic. And if they have the capacity, as an interest and time commitment, to be their own spokesperson, and that's
Yeah.
not Kentucky Fried Chicken or whatever. Remember, there's a story to how it evolved from the old man. He was, you know, old when he first started his entrepreneurial journey, 54 or
Yeah.
62 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you can be your own brand ambassador. But Vaishali, I'll tell you a story
Yeah.
which I think I haven't shared with you. The first uh, mCaffeine product, I think, just randomly I had picked up was the body scrub, right? And I mean, we all love to wake up to the smell of coffee. There is something about it that's very alluring. You walk into a coffee shop, there is something about the smell of coffee that, from an aroma, uh, does something to us, right? So it wakes you up, it makes you feel active, and you just get a spring in your step, as they say, right? So, but when I use the body scrub, I was before skeptical, because you don't think of coffee on your body, but something about it just was a morning wake up, so I really loved it. So there is
Thank you
the
so much.
authentic advertising,
Thank
unpaid.
you. It means a lot to us, and when we get such authentic reviews from our customers,
Yeah.
it just makes our day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, but let's talk about building marketing teams, right?
Yeah.
uh, you know, um, especially when founders are not the brand ambassadors, and even if they are, actually, it's irrelevant. But, marketing is, of course, there is part, I mean, we put it in the realm of more something that's a art versus a science. But marketing, to me at least, has always been data, campaigns, science, and deeply analytical. There's a side to marketing which may be more creative, but most of marketing is actually analytical from my perspective. But how do you go about building the right marketing team? And maybe you can talk about two stages of a company, right? When you are early in your revenue, maybe when you are uh, investing into your growth revenue. So how do you think about the team? What's the right size team budget? skill sets? Maybe you can give us a rundown on that.
Got it. I think what uh, we've done from day one in building mCaffeine is we've kept business and marketing under one umbrella. So we have never ever kept that separate. So if a business person isn't thinking about the brand, they would start selling a commodity. And if the marketeer doesn't understand the business, they will only sell a promise rather than the product. So first objective, I think, of building the entire brand and growth ecosystem in the organization is to probably have both the teams have view of each other. Talking about specifically marketing, um, so our entire marketing team is under 25, and the core quality of the people who work with us is they know content. They understand the right form of content which resonates with the millennials, Gen Zs, which should go on the social platforms and talk to the consumers. And I think that is the most important factor at this point of time in choosing the right marketing team and the fundamentals of the marketing team. So I think, like, if at this point of time the marketeers don't know how to build a content or which content works for the audiences, they are not doing justice to the form of marketing, to the vertical of marketing. The
Hmm.
second thing is execution. So ideas are 5 to 10% of this entire
Hmm.
process of building. 90% is execution.
Hmm.
So they get 10 ideas every day. But the fact that they can execute 9 of them makes them, like, the masters in their particular space. So I think the
Hmm.
second most important aspect of picking the right team is if they can execute. It's very important. And the
Hmm.
third most important aspect is they should understand business. So my marketing team knows the sales of every day. They
Hmm.
know which creative is working well for them, which creative is generating best CTRs and best conversion, which is the product which is selling the most, which are the focus products or the focus objectives of the next 3 months. So if they don't know and if they don't have the interest to actually understand that, I think they would just be building content just out of hobby and making sure it looks good rather than solving a business need or the purpose. So I
Hmm.
think these are, first of all, the three critical factors of choosing the marketing team for today. And as I said, that when you pick up a business team, it is equally important for them to understand that they're selling a brand, they're building a business, and it has to work hand in hand. They cannot sell a commodity. So I think both the aspects become very important. I'll not touch the business since we're focusing on marketing today. So marketing has these three fundamentals, which is content, execution, and the third part is understanding the business. Now, when it comes to the understanding the cost of marketing, I think that varies from team to team, DNA to DNA, business to business. So it varies at a team level. So some people, we follow a linear structure. We don't have a lot of people. At beginning we had 1 to 2 people who were doing marketing. Now we have a team of 7 to 8 people. The creative team, however, is different. We have another 10 to 15 people team who work on the creative. But I think we feel that this is a decent team for us to scale the business to 300 odd crores. But I think beyond that, I feel for us it doesn't work. So everyone can have their own ways of building, but we operate in a more leaner fashion when it comes to building a team.
There is an audience question that I want you to address. If the product is a premium or a perception of a premium, however you want to define it, or more mass, right? How are marketing strategies different? Or is it the same?
So if I've got the question right, if so you're trying to understand the positioning of the brand and then the content communication format for that. So if
Yeah,
it's mass to
I guess
premium,
so. Yeah, if it's, I suppose maybe the way I would paraphrase it is marketing different for a, let's call it forest essentials, right? Versus you're not in the same price bracket, right?
Yeah.
And you're not in the same product bracket either, but for a
Got it.
moment, just for, yeah,
No, no,
versus
got it, got it.
mCaffeine, would that be different?
No, yeah, got it. So obviously, I think a mass brand versus a mass premium to a luxury brand, how does that communication engine probably changes? I
Yeah.
think a lot of differentiation of this particular ladder of mass to premium to luxury comes with the product and the pricing. So, justification of a mass product versus a premium and luxury actually depends on the quality of the product, the delivery of the product, and the pricing of the product. Coming to the communication side of things, um, we feel that people need to understand the value of the product. If I am paying 100 rupees for a product versus a 500 or a 1,000, I need to understand that this product does justice to the amount I'm paying for the product. That's like the first fundamental
But
of
that's the
building.
emotion. Just, I mean, does it, whichever shampoo I use, that is really make my hair
Yes.
better marginally? We know that, right? So it's a perception at some point, right?
Yes, yes. But say I'll give you an example. There's a product, like let's say Forest Essentials. They would have probably 10 ingredients and which goes into the product which makes it which makes the product luxury and sells at a certain price point. Communication needs to do justice to that. They need to tell, okay, how these 1,010 ingredients build a 1,000 rupee product and gives the impact people are wanting to get the impact people are wanting, versus if I'm selling a 500 rupee product which has again 10 ingredients and delivers an impact,
Mm,
then I need to justify that 500 rupee product with the right set of ingredients, with the right set of quality and the price I'm selling. The format
mm,
of communication, see, there are two formats we are talking about, one which goes through the brand and one which goes through the outside world to them. One
mm,
which goes through the brand definitely needs to do justice to the brand positioning. So, an caffeine, a Hyphen, a Himalaya, and a Forest Essential fall into
mm.
multiple different brackets, have multiple different
Correct.
positioning and right positions. For them, how they want to position the brand is their forms of communication which they have to control and tell the consumers. I need to
Mm,
understand, okay, what communicates with caffeine, what communicates with Hyphen consumer, what communicates with probably a Himalaya consumer and a Forest Essential consumer. So that's the brand world and the brand tonality which I need to work on. Versus when we talk about an influencer talking about the product, I don't
mm,
think it matters that they talk about the product in the brand language. They just need to
mm,
tell people that if the product has the right value for it, and if they should,
mm,
if consumers feel like buying it or not. So I think it
mm,
is more about uh, telling the so justifying the value of the product and the impact of the product with that
mm,
positioning. So the content needs to justify that. The product needs to justify that. So the
mm,
form of communication, the type of influences might not matter. To some extent, it might matter. But now, like my learning is somebody sitting in a tier one versus a tier three would have the same amount of spending power. They would have the same purchasing power. It's just about two different influencers going and talking to them. So you would need a tier one customer also and a tier three customer also, because they have the purchasing power. Now I need two different types of influencers to cater to them. Now their form
mm,
of communication, their form of content might not matter a lot to me, because it's their content, their form of audiences, and their authenticity which communicates to people. My part is to preserve my brand with the communication I am telling to consumers. So I think
mm,
two different routes, two different ways to deal with messaging and communication. The core
mm,
objective remains to how do I justify the product is to price is to impact. So I think that delivery is important.
I want to ask you a couple of very quick questions because we are almost out of time. And I appreciate the audience also staying with us through this, enriching discussion for me, and I hope everyone also picked up um, uh, uh, some points and some nuggets to apply for themselves. But a few questions. What's a brand other than your own that you really love?
See, now after mCaffeine, there's Hyphen I love. So these
Yeah,
are the
of
two
course, that's
brands
your
I
your
largely.
own brand.
I think a couple of global brands I definitely love. Bath and Body is a great brand. Body Shop has been a great brand. A lot of our competitive D2C brands have done honestly a great job. So a couple of them, my bathroom is always filled with hundreds of products. First because of testing, and the second because of
Yes.
a lot of love for the brands. But I think a couple of these brands, Ordinary has done a great job. So I think these are the set of brands which I feel can be a good subsegment.
Your favorite mCaffeine product that you would recommend to audience?
See, it is the perfume body lotion which we have launched, the Summer Breeze variant. It's one product which I can't step out of home without using it. So it's like my current favorite. So it has this amazing fragrance, which stays all day, and it's lotion. So I don't like using a lot of perfumes. So
Hmm.
this becomes a very good alternative for me, and it makes me feel very fresh and nice. So that's my current favorite.
So, who would be a celebrity you would want representing mCaffeine that hasn't
Hmm.
already represented you?
Tough question.
Global, Indian or global, or doesn't matter. Who do you think you would want?
So we've always liked Sandra Bullock. So I think
Mm,
the attitude and the control, that composure which she has, at the same time that confidence she
mm.
emits, it's what I feel is always she can embody caffeine for us. So that confidence
I
that.
would. Yeah, I agree. I think she's a great actress and a great person who says confidence and I'm going to be myself. So, great choice. So maybe she'll see this. Who knows? Or somebody will show it to her. But talking about women and confidence, last question for the day from me. One
Yeah,
thing we don't talk about enough as women founders.
I think lot lot of times I've seen women don't fight for themselves, and it is not being talked about. So it's very important for women to stand and fight for what they need. If a woman wants to work after giving birth, becoming a mother, and if there are objections, okay, no, they can't, I think they need to fight for themselves. That's the first thing, I think. And not a lot of people talk about it. I've seen people talking about the fact that, okay, no, women need to do a lot of things. They probably need to work, they need to be financially independent. All of that is very necessary, definitely. But first of all, they need to fight. Because since the very beginning of the day, since we've been born, right, we have been conditioned to adjust. We've been conditioned to operate basis the society norms. And because of that adjustment which stays in our head, right, that yeah, okay, we have to adjust, a lot of times we forget to fight and say no, okay, we don't want to adjust at this point of time, we want to be who we are. So I think that change in self is very, very important. And the second part, which is equally important, is uh, we need to change the people around us also. So a lot of times I feel that the ecosystem, the atmosphere, the people, 5 6 people around you need to be aligned with the fact that okay, I need to do this. And it is a part my responsibility and part society's responsibility to prepare them for this change. But I think I need to do my part to prepare them. Ki, okay, this is my choice. I want to do this, and you have to be comfortable with this. So I think these are the two things which I keep on telling my team also, that okay, you need, if you want to get married, if you want to have child, do it. These are the most beautiful things women can imagine, having a baby and having a partner. uh, but at the same time, this is just a part of your life, and nothing changes. There are other things which are equally important, like having an identity, working, doing something you love, your passion. So all of these are equals. There's no, like, if a it's not an if else situation. If this,
Yeah.
I'll do this. If not, I'll do this. So I think having it all sort of is important, and fighting for it is very important. Is what I feel. I can be wrong about it, but I would love to understand your message to women founders. You've been in the ecosystem for a very, very long time.
I think I like your message. I, you know, all of life, whether you're a woman or a man, is about self discovery of who you are and what makes you a happy person at the end of the day. Because if we are joyful, there is something about the universe and the energy and everybody around you, have a tendency to share that joy. If you are miserable, I think you radiate that, you project that, just like an angry person. You can see, and then you kind of like, I want to stay away from that person, right?
Hmm.
So I think it's our own responsibility to find our happiness. Oftentimes we put that on external factors. This person didn't do this,
Hmm.
or this situation happened, but we have to seek out that. And so I think it's important um, that you take that responsibility. And maybe with women, there has been sort of a narrative that a woman who's happy is who sacrifices everything about her life, doesn't ask anything for herself. Maybe whether that's true, whether a
Hmm.
woman thinks that way or not, there is a narrative maybe created. Remember Mother India movie, so it's like, um,
Yeah,
that kind of
absolutely.
a narrative exists of self-sacrificing. And if you ask for anything for yourself, perhaps you're selfish. But is it selfish or survival, or even a positive contribution to the world? We need to think about that, right? So but it has to start with yourself. I think we should all figure out what makes us happy, joyful, fulfilled, and not then blame someone else, feel guilty, resentful, and go do it. If that's creating mCaffeine, that's great. If it's going and building, being an Olympic athlete, so be it. If it's, just being focused on your garden, so be it. Doesn't really matter, right? It's a self discovery and you owe it to yourself. So I think women founders, I always find, get tied into a lot of knots to say, will it be okay? Will my children be okay? What will people say? And I think it'll all fall in place. If you are fulfilled and you're happy, you become a role model to everyone around you, first and foremost, your own family. And you will share that. You'll share your happiness, and your success with others. So take personal responsibility for it, would be what I would say. And I always tell younger women, I mean, why are you going to this guilt? You don't have to
Hmm.
feel guilty about doing something you're passionate about doing. It's not a
Yeah.
crime, you know.
Yes. Yes,
It's not
absolutely.
illegal, right? Give yourself permission to go out there and achieve,
Yes. Yes, I mean,
you know.
it's wonderful. I think I didn't think from that lens that okay, yeah, happiness is first of all is important. Picking and choosing what you want and then staying true to that is very important. Very, very, very
Yeah.
nice.
Good luck with M Caffeine. Lovely conversation. Thanks for doing this today, Vaishali. We'll come back to you with any other questions we see from audience also. But I appreciate you doing this.
Thank you
And
so
thank
much.
you, audience, for joining both of us.
Thank you guys, and it's been great. Thanks a lot, Vani. It was a really insightful and learning session for me.
All right. Have a good evening then. Bye.
You too. Bye bye. Take care.